So last week, I suppose my video was quite dark, I guess. And so I thought to kind of provide a little bit of balance, this week I'd be a little bit more upbeat and optimistic about what I thought I'd make this video about. And so I thought, hey, I'm pretty much at the 20-month mark on HRT. And as I say quite a lot, I'm a reflective person. So I spent some time looking back and thinking, well, what's changed? And what am I happy about in terms of those changes? Well, first of all, I guess let's talk about my relationships with other people, because I guess that's one of the primary things that people do in general, is have relationships and connections with each other. So what exactly has changed, and has it been for the better? Well, I know that I'm supremely lucky because I have Carolina by my side, and she's been incredibly wonderful and supportive, and I can't ask any more of her. It's amazing. I owe a lot to her. And beyond that, I know of the 5 trans people that I personally am in contact with and know, basically all of them are having some kind of relationship dilemma or other, either related to being trans or not. And so having somebody who's completely supportive and on board with all of this is just wonderful. And I think, like a lot of things, if you have such dramatic changes in a relationship, it can either weaken or strengthen that relationship. And I think it's absolutely strengthened ours. We're a lot more honest with each other. She can see my increase in comfort and joy and happiness, and I think she recognizes her part in that as well. So I hope that she feels a degree of pride in the same way that I do. But beyond that, there's my colleagues and co-workers, and again, I have to say that my relationships with a lot of them have been boosted through this. I have a lot of really nice, pleasant conversations with people who are, I would say, not really colleagues, more like friends, almost on the verge of family. It means that much to me, the kind of support that they've provided for me, creating a space where I can go to. In fact, I'm going there now, where I can be myself without worry and without apologies. In terms of my family, again, I would say, especially with my dad, it's given us a launch pad, a springboard to deepen that relationship, to have conversations about things which were basically long overdue, and again, not necessarily related to my being trans. And if anything, it's made us much more honest with each other than we've ever been. So those things are all good. And again, I want to recognize that that's not necessarily the standard or the norm when it comes to the trans experience. So I absolutely celebrate and I recognize how almost unusually amazing that is. And again, I just want to say, one of the reasons why I film myself out on the streets is to kind of demonstrate that I am part of this society. I want to show, not tell, that I am out, like in the literal and metaphorical sense, that my being able to be in the world and going about my day poses no threat whatsoever to individuals or culture. And I guess that's kind of part of my, remit here. And I mean, I don't want to dwell or go into the negatives too much, but I mean, that's possibly one of the things when it comes to relationships, is it does play on my mind a bit that I feel like I'm kind of flying the flag for trans people in general. And I've talked about this in previous videos. I do feel a lot of pressure to be out there in a positive sense, and that's quite tough. But that being said, overall, it's not that hard, because I've got so many people in my life who are supporting and championing me, and that's just marvelous. So that's the first one. The second thing, let's talk about the psychological changes that I've seen. Well, I mean, I'm inserting it into a video where I'm talking about positives. So again, you can probably tell where this is going to go. But I have to say, I was taking stock of this yesterday because I went to my annual trip with my endocrinologist, which as usual went really well. She's a superb human being, and I cherish people like that they exist. But I was thinking about, okay, so how have I changed personally in the past 20 months or whatever? I mean, one thing, I'm far less angry than I used to be. It's not like I had a quick temper or anything like that, but there was an underlying fury within me that could often result in, I don't know, impatience, being short with people, judging people poorly on first impressions. And I mean, I'm still quite irritated about certain things, but this is couched more in terms of, well, I'm sure you can imagine what that's all about, but my general day-to-day kind of anger, my self-pity, I guess, the negativity that I would heap upon myself has all dried up, and it's allowed me to be much more patient and open with myself and with other people. And I think that's definitely a net positive. I'm sure some people might see that as a bad thing, but yeah, I definitely think I can see myself being a lot more calm, a lot more gentle as a person. And these are all good things. I mean, it's easy for me to say I'm happier because, I mean, that's fairly self-evident to most people. But, and again, I've said this in a previous video, happiness is a fleeting emotion, and I don't think it's just happiness that I was seeking. It was a way to eradicate a lot of the negativity that I held within myself. And, you know, I'm still a human. I still get angry, I still get sad, I still get impatient, I am still judgy to certain people, but those things are a lot less frequent these days. I'm a lot more understanding, I think a lot more tolerant where there are differences. So yeah, I think this is a kind of a longer term sort of change that I've seen. And finally, let's talk about the physical changes because, you know, why not? Without going too much into thorough detail about the changes that I've seen, and I've again mentioned these things a couple of times, but oh well, wow, I didn't expect to see such changes physically. I went into this whole thing with a fairly, I'm going to say, realistic take on things. I never expected to be able to be out in the world, living a life which is becoming increasingly mundane, where I can get ready for work and go out in whatever costume, whatever, I can go out in whatever outfit I want. And I don't expect to see any kind of different reaction as I would when I was wearing the mask in the before times. So that's just amazing. And I mean, yeah, you might look at me and say, Andy, what are you talking about? You're clearly a trans woman or something, but that's fine as well. I guess that's another change that I've seen. It's definitely a case of me being very comfortable within that identity, and also increasingly comfortable in being perceived as such, because it's who I am, and I'm not going to be ashamed of that. I'm not embarrassed by that. It's fine. it's fine that I'm trans. But anyway, so I digress. Physical changes. So my skin is much softer. My features are, I think, more rounded, more soft again as well. My hair is amazing. It really is. Somebody was talking to me about my hair and they couldn't believe that all I do is wash it with shampoo. I don't use masks or conditioners regularly at all. So I put that down to the hormonal changes that I've seen. But realistically, the physical changes haven't been as great as with everything else. Like my emotional state, my mental state, my social state is much changed and much better than I think my physical changes have been. I suppose my general overarching comment about my appearance and how I see my appearance is I can often say that I look good, and that's not something I was able to say in the before times. I find that there are parts of my body which I absolutely adore, and that was a really new thing for me when that happened, and when I realized that. And I suppose that's something that cis people just won't understand, is finding that comfort in one's own body. I used to see this form as a purely mechanical kind of thing to get me from one place to the other, but now it's something that I actually enjoy, and that's it makes such a difference to the quality of your life. But to the, I suppose, kind of age-old question that trans people often ask themselves and each other, do I pass? Do I think I pass? I don't really care, to be honest. All I can say is I go around my day like this, as I've said many times, and I get to live my life, and I get to live my life currently unmolested and no differently to any other person in the world going about their life, or at least any other person in Poland, that said. So I don't really feel like I need to get too hung up on that question. And I don't know if I do pass, and maybe I do sometimes, I don't think that's entirely down to my physical changes. I think a lot of that is also down to the psychological ones. I can go out with my head held high, my chest out, feeling confident and proud and happy to be myself. And I think that does a lot as well. Your eye is often drawn to people who are obviously nervous, anxious, looking about themselves with a degree of fear. And I don't know, some of it sometimes, or at least early on, I tried to condition myself out of that kind of furtiveness. And I guess faking it until you making it has paid off, because I do feel confident in being out, and I do still expect something bad, maybe a comment, maybe worse, but I'd like to think that's not going to quell my confidence. But I guess we'll cross that bridge if and when I get to it. But anyway, I thought I'd just mention that here, because I'm feeling pretty good about myself, as always, really. I obviously often make, or occasionally make, videos which are less than positive, like last week for instance, but I don't ever want people to think that if I'm angry or frustrated with the direction that the world is traveling in, that has any bearing on myself. I do not think that this was a mistake. I do not think that this was a net negative. Even if I marched into a camp or something like that, I would still take what's coming as myself than to be living inauthentically in a closet somewhere in the world. I don't know. Anyway, so I'll leave it there. A little ramble today on it's such a beautiful morning. It's amazing. I wish you were here to enjoy it with me in real life rather than virtually. And I hope that wherever you are, your days are as stunning as it is here in Warsaw today. So have yourselves a wonderful rest of the weekend and week, or whatever the time frame is when you're watching this video, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best. Take care.